Welcome back to Set Streets and Eats, guys. I'm Chris Bauer. I am in Sturgis, Michigan, in front of the last Hot Now burger. If you never had Hot Now, then you don't remember the 90s. And I'm gonna talk about Hot Now, the history of it while we're standing in front of it, and then I'm gonna eat some Hot Now. I'm also gonna tell you an interesting little fact that ties Hot Now and In-N-Out Burger together forever. And I hope you guys will join me. Let's go eat.
I got the goods, Red.
You find me the place?
It's happening at Hot Now.
But I thought they were...
No, they're 60% bigger now.
Bigger? That's hot.
Real hot. Hot Now's Double Deluxe has 60% more pure beef than McDonald's Big Mac.
You load that on a fresh-seeded roll with zesty red onion, tomato, and cool leaf lettuce, and buy one, get one free.
I think I'm in love.
So Hot Now was actually started in 1984 by a man named Bill Van de Mellen. He was out of Kalamazoo, actually out of Grand Rapids, Michigan, but he opened the first one in Kalamazoo, Michigan, which is not too far north of here. Bill actually spent his whole life in the restaurant business. He started in the 1960s. He had owned 2 different Burger Chef restaurants, on Dunkin' Donuts, and he even brought the very first 2 Wendy's restaurants to Michigan. But what he had learned from all of those was something simple, and that he wanted to start a burger franchise that did a very simple menu and served it incredibly fast. And so that's what Hot Now was. And when he launched the first one, the entire model was no indoor dining, it's drive-through only. And actually the early buildings I remember actually had the drive-through window on the other side, which is still there, but it used to actually serve both sides. So they were one of the very early innovators of the double drive-through. But basically the entire model was selling cheeseburgers, hamburgers, french fries, milkshakes, and sodas, and you would get your order in under 30 seconds or less. And they were very cheap. I think hamburgers were 39 cents, cheeseburgers were 49 cents. It was like the best place in the 90s to go besides Taco Bell in the Midwest. We had, I think, 2 or 3 of them in my city, in Flint, Michigan. And we used to eat at them pretty often. But once Bill opened this, it took off. Started selling franchise. He quickly grew to, it was over 70 or 75 different locations just in 6 years. By 1990, he got the attention of Taco Bell. Taco Bell was wanting to get into the burger business. And they, of course, had a mother company, Pepsi. They had lots of money, so they offered him a lot of money, and he took it. And they had a big vision for Hot Now. They'd made a big investment in it, like a $200 million expansion investment once they owned it. And even Bill thought they were gonna have 4,000 or 5,000 locations nationwide. And so they started doing it at the time at Pepsi. They had a man named Don Pierce was in charge. And he was a go-getter. He knew how to do it. He knew how to market. And very quickly, they started opening new locations everywhere and really started putting a lot of money into it. But he was so good that he got the attention of competitors like Arby's, and they hired Don away. So once Don Pierce had left, things quickly fell apart. They had projected, with that $200 million investment in Hot Now, they had projected that they were going to expand to over 400 restaurants from the original 77 by 1993, and then just keep going. What ended up happening was, when they made the original deal, one of their big customers out west, In-N-Out Burger, had been open in 1949 and had, for the past 40 to 50 years, had always served Pepsi, been a very loyal Pepsi customer. And they said, oh, well, you guys got into the burger business. Are you gonna open any burger place competitors in our markets. We hope that you aren't. And they were like, of course not. Don told them absolutely not. Well, then once Don was gone and Pepsi was just opening them everywhere, they have inevitably opened several Hot and Nows in In-N-Out markets. In-N-Out did not take that lightly. And at the end of the year, when their contract was up with Pepsi, they dropped them for the first time and went to Coke. And they have been with Coke ever since. That's why you get Coke with your In-N-Out burgers, which I actually prefer. So kind of glad that happened. Either way, that coupled with, that was a major loss of business for Pepsi. Also at the same time, Taco Bell, who was in charge of Hot and Now, they decided to start using Hot and Now's menu as test items. And they kept changing the menu, testing out different sandwiches, testing out this or that. That really threw a wrench in one thing, and that's because these restaurants were designed to do one thing: serve a simple menu very quickly. When you start adding on fish sandwiches and platters and all these different things, that means your cook time starts going up, and it throws out your entire business model. That started happening very quickly. That is when franchisees started getting mad. They started losing business left and right. Just in 1994 alone, they closed over 80 stores, which is not a good thing when you're rapidly expanding. So the writing was on the wall. By 1997, PepsiCo sold off Hot and Now, and they exchanged a few different hands over that time. But by 2004, Hot and Now filed for bankruptcy. And I think it was about a year later in 2005, a Minnesota restaurant company bought the last remaining 14 locations for $175,000. So over the last 20 years, those 14 locations have one burned down, others have just gone out of business and closed. And now today, there's one left. And these, again, I've mentioned that these are a big staple of my childhood, my teenagehood, childhood going into teenage years. We ate here a lot. It was cheap, it was good food. When you and your friends were out after high school or after school one day, it was a good way to go spend $3 and get, you know, several burgers. And it was just a really convenient and good place for young people to eat. And I remember their burgers being pretty doggone tasty. So that is the history of Hot and Now. Now we're gonna jump in there and see if they still taste like the old Hot and Now burgers. Hello. Thank you. Do you guys have any bumper stickers or merch for sale? Yeah. Do you? And thank you. I appreciate it. So I got a Hot and Now bumper sticker. They definitely have some merch in there. They had tumbler cups, hats, beanie caps. I got a ball cap and a bumper sticker. I dig it. So I'm gonna try their onion rings, which are very hot. I'm gonna try their fries. I do wish, right away I've noticed that there's no branding on any of the packaging. It's kind of a bummer. So I got a deluxe cheeseburger, which this looks like it has 2 patties, cheese, mayo, lettuce. Looks awesome. So, something that you really only get at Michigan burger places. And I'll talk more about this in another video, but Michigan is known for their olive burgers. And I'll show you. it's hard to see, but that's olive mix. This olive mix of mayo and olives and a couple other ingredients. There's several Michigan-based burger places that still do it today, and it started here in Michigan too, over 100 years ago. But Hot and Now's got one as well. It does make you wonder what they would have done if Don Pierce had stayed in charge. He had a vision for Hot and Now, and he understood the business model that Bill had created in 1984. Their entire business model was that simplicity and that speed. And once you start adding different menu pieces and stuff that doesn't normally go with it, it's really hard to maintain that. And once you don't have that as your niche, well, then you're just another burger place. And then you're probably going to lose out to a McDonald's or a Burger King if you're just like them. And that was something that the people in charge after Don left didn't really understand. And so many of these buildings, kind of like old Taco Bells, have been repurposed. And they're different things now, or they're just gone completely. These are such a specific building that it was hard for other businesses to come into that building after they were gone. So a lot of them ended up tearing them down. I know there's a few pizza places that found success with that building model, but for the most part, a lot of people didn't. They ended up tearing most of these down. So they have this unique 90s looking look to them. I love that they kept everything the way it was. The only thing they've updated, I noticed, was the digital menu boards. That looked like it was all new. They had landscaping around. It looks like they had just updated all that. So that's interesting. Looks like they're still putting money into it. This is still owned by, I want to say, that company in Minnesota, or it could be a different company now. But they own a chain of restaurants in the upper Midwest called Burger Time, just like the video game, the arcade game from the 80s, with a very similar business model. Double drive-through, simple menu. So, yeah, it's interesting. I like this is stuck around. I really do. I think it's really neat. I like that they sell merchandise and they make a thing of it, just like the last Blockbuster. I think that's really cool. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed my history of Hot and Now. It's really cool. There's one of these left, and if you have the means, or you can, I wouldn't say make a big trip about it. You know, it is just a simple burger place, but it's definitely worth a stop. It's right off of I-90 as you're going across just underneath Michigan, like you're on the way to Chicago or something. So it's very convenient to get to pull off the exit and get here. But yeah, highly recommend trying it. Who knows how long the last one will last, but this is such a an old 80s and 90s specific thing. And I think that's why they embraced the logo, and they haven't updated anything like that, because they know when their heyday was. They know it was early 90s, mid 80s to early 90s. It's such a ephemeral timeline when you compare it to like other burger places like In-N-Out that's been around since 1949, and McDonald's that's been around since 1954. You know, those places have that longevity, and there's thousands of locations and all that, but this one didn't have that. It's just got that niche, and you know me, I love those niches. So I definitely have fond memories of In-N-Out. I also have fond memories of In-N-Out, but I definitely have fond memories of Hot and Now, and this definitely lived up to my expectations. Still tastes the same as it always did. It's a little bit more expensive, not hugely more, honestly. Both those burgers were about $4 each, and one was a double cheeseburger loaded with everything, and the other was a double cheeseburger with olive spread. So, I mean, you know, it's not a crazy amount of money compared to a lot of other fast food places. So, definitely recommend if you're around Sturgis, Michigan. And if you haven't already, please subscribe and press that like button. And I love doing these little history of fast food and retail brands. It's just part of my interest and my niche. And I know some of you like them, not as many as my animatronic fans, but Hopefully some of you enjoy these as well as much as I enjoy making them. So appreciate you guys watching, and we'll see you at the next one. Bye now.